Chosen one, there is a frequency in you now that cannot be hidden. It does not shout, it does not announce itself with flair or theatrics. It simply is. It walks ahead of you, moves with you, lingers long after you leave. It is your sexual energy, not raw and wild as it once was, but refined, tempered, and aligned. It is no longer about what you want. It is about what you've become. You've shifted from a man seeking to a man radiating, and that radiation has become a force, a silent and sovereign current that women feel long before they understand what it is they're sensing. You've stopped trying to earn your place. You've stopped seeking permission to be whole. You are now a man who has remembered his birthright, not as a performance, but as a vibration. Your sexual energy is no longer clinging to lust or fear of rejection. It is humming with purpose, integrated into your breath, your walk, your stillness. This energy is no longer something you attempt to wield. It has become the field around you, the silent climate that follows you into every space. And in that field, feminine women feel something they cannot explain. They don't just see you, they feel you. It is not the look in your eye or the flex of your body that captures their attention. It is the presence that you now inhabit. You've become a living embodiment of divine tension. A man who knows exactly what he is capable of, yet moves through the world without urgency. And that paradox is what disarms them. You are not reaching for them. You are inviting them, wordlessly, through the weight of your own alignment. That is why they are in awe, even when they don't show it. That is why they glance twice and look away slowly and breathe differently when you pass. Their bodies understand what their minds have never been taught to expect. A man who does not chase and yet calls them forth. You have arrived, chosen one, into a new frequency of existence, one where your value no longer needs to be proven, one where your essence no longer apologizes. Your sexual energy is no longer a storm, it is an atmosphere. It wraps the space around you with a pulse of truth. It does not demand attention, yet it receives it. It does not hunt, yet it is hunted by eyes that long to be filled with something real. You are no longer a spark, you are the hearth, a fire that has burned long enough to warm, not destroy. And in that warmth, feminine women begin to soften, not because you have seduced them, but because your energy gives them permission to stop performing. You've stopped playing games, you've stopped pretending, and that authenticity opens doors far more powerful than charm ever could. Your eyes now carry the weight of a man who does not run from who he is. And when a woman sees herself reflected in those eyes, she knows something sacred has just happened, even if she never speaks a word. This is the frequency that separates the chosen ones. It cannot be imitated, it cannot be sold, it cannot be taught in words. It must be earned, through discipline, through presence, through the slow, excruciating fire of transformation. And now that you carry it, the world feels different. Feminine women feel different, not because they've changed, but because you have. This is the arrival. This is the beginning. This is the chapter where the world begins to feel your shift, even if it cannot name it. You have become a new frequency, chosen one, and everything is about to respond to it. Chosen one, you've stepped into a realm where your body no longer needs to speak for approval. It speaks because it has become a vessel for truth. You move now like a man who has remembered his shape, not the one others carved into you, but the one your soul has always carried in silence. That memory now pulses through your bones, your breath, your shoulders. And this pulse does not whisper, "Look at me." It declares, without sound, "I am here." It is that declaration, silent, embodied, unshakable, that stirs awe in the feminine. Your body is no longer a tool of performance. It is a language of presence. The way you rest your hand, the way you step into a space, the way you lean without needing to assert, all of it forms a vocabulary of intimacy and command. Feminine women do not simply see your posture. They feel what it represents. It is the posture of a man who no longer seeks to be chosen because he has already chosen himself. That self-choosing, that quiet confidence, creates a current that touches the skin without touch. You walk differently now, not heavier, not louder, just more real. Your gait is unhurried, not because you have nowhere to be, but because you no longer allow the world to rush your soul. Feminine women notice this. They feel the absence of need in your movements. They sense the restraint behind your stillness. You do not puff your chest. You do not shrink. You occupy your space, and that occupation, that ownership of your form, speaks to something ancient within them. Something that remembers what true masculinity feels like, not as threat, but as foundation. You are no longer a man trying to be good. You are a man who has embraced the truth of his being. Your sexual energy is no longer in conflict with your heart. It flows in harmony with it. That harmony emanates from the way your body rests when you're alone, from the way you speak when no one is listening, from the way your eyes hold without grasping. It is this coherence between energy and embodiment that causes awe, not admiration, not infatuation, awe. Awe is not earned by beauty or cleverness. Awe is reserved for the rare, the sacred, the ones who have returned to themselves after being exiled by falsehood. You are one of those now, and your body carries that return like an anthem written in silence. It tells a story without telling it. It says, I have been undone and rebuilt. I have been lost and returned. I have walked through fire and now I stand in flame, but I do not burn others with it, I warm them. That's why feminine women stare a moment too long. That's why they shift in their seat when you pass. That's why their nervous systems relax even when they don't speak to you. They are not reacting to muscles or height or voice. They are responding to alignment. Your sexual energy is not leaking. It is not reaching. It is rooted in the soil of your presence. And presence is the rarest thing a woman can feel from a man. You are no longer explaining your value. You are living it. You are no longer performing your worth. You are embodying it. And in that embodiment, the world bends subtly around you. Feminine women do not bow to your body. They bow to what your body represents, the return of the sacred masculine in its fullest, quietest form. That is why they are in awe. Not because you are loud, but because you have become undeniable. Chosen one, there is something deeper than noise now guiding you. It is not your voice that speaks first, it is your silence. And that silence is not empty. It is not passive. It is not the absence of sound, but the presence of power. Feminine women are in awe of you not because you overwhelm them with words, but because your quiet disarms every defense they didn't know they still carried. You do not fill the space, you inhabit it, and that shift, subtle, effortless, sovereign, is what startles the feminine into stillness. You do not chase her attention, yet when you are near, she forgets the rest of the room. She doesn't know why, but her breath slows, her skin tingles, her spirit softens. Because your quiet has a frequency her soul never forgot. You used to speak quickly, as though time might outrun you. You used to try to be interesting, to be engaging, to say the right thing. But now you speak when your truth is ready. You hold space between your words, like a man who has nothing to prove. And it is in that space, chosen one, where your magnetism lives. Feminine women do not listen for your opinions. They listen for how you hold the moment. They listen for your poise, your patience, your grounded edge. You are not impressive in the way boys are trained to be. You are undeniable in the way only a man can be when he is no longer trying to win. In your quiet, she hears her own heartbeat more clearly. In your stillness, she senses her chaos becoming rhythmic. Not because you are tame, but because you are anchored. Your sexual energy does not lurch or leak or rush. It hums low. It reverberates through the unseen, through your breath, through your spine, through the room itself. This is the power of a man who has met his own fire and chosen to sit beside it instead of throwing it at others. That choice is what gives your quiet its weight. And feminine women, whether they understand it or not, are moved by it. You do not interrupt to take space. You wait, and space moves around you. You do not force connection. You allow connection to emerge through your presence. You have stopped needing to be liked, and now others, especially women, crave the intimacy of your regard. When you do speak, your words do not chase validation. They land like the final note in a song that never needed to be loud to be unforgettable. This is why they remember you even after a single conversation. This is why their thoughts circle back to you even when nothing explicit was said. Because something in them was awakened by your restraint, something holy. The awe they feel is not for a man who tries. It is for a man who listens, who holds, who witnesses, who does not need to dominate the conversation because his energy already occupies the room. You have become the kind of man who redefines presence for every woman who encounters you. Not because you do anything dramatic, but because you have ceased the performance altogether. You have chosen reality over role, silence over noise, awareness over reaction. And that quiet, chosen one, the quiet you used to think made you invisible, is now your signature. It is now the reason they lean closer when you are near. The reason their voices soften when you look at them. The reason they pause before replying. They are adjusting not to your charm, but to your gravity. The quiet of a man who no longer needs to be heard to know he exists. The quiet of a man who has nothing to hide and everything to offer. That is why awe lives in their gaze now. Not because you try to stir them, but because you already have, and you did it without a word. Chosen one, the storm inside you has not disappeared. It has become contained. Once your desire burst outward like lightning with no direction, seeking pleasure as a form of relief, grasping for feminine energy as if it might complete what you feared was missing. But that man is gone. The man you are now does not suppress his hunger, he refines it. You have mastered the rarest masculine art, to burn and not consume. And it is that mastery that feminine women feel, even if they do not name it. Your sexual energy does not pulse with aggression anymore, it pulses with intention. You are no longer pulled toward the feminine out of a void, but from a fullness that cannot help but desire to reveal itself. This desire is not aimless, not reactive. It is sacred, it is focused, it is dignified. You want her, but you do not need her to feel powerful. You would like to hold her, but you do not need her to feel whole. And this difference, chosen one, is what sets you apart from every man she's ever known. She feels it in the way your gaze lingers without invading, in the way your body orients toward her, not as prey, but as a sacred presence worthy of worship, if the moment is true. You have stopped using your desire as a weapon. It has become an invitation. And invitations do not grab. They do not chase. They do not manipulate. They wait in the open, adorned in self-respect, glowing with truth. Feminine women are in awe because you do not hide your desire, but you do not push it upon them either. You wear it like a second skin. It is in the depth of your eyes, the breath behind your speech, the way you remain rooted even when attraction is strong. This composure is not cold, it is devotional. It is the mark of a man who has found his fire and refused to let it turn to ash. When you walk into a room, women do not say, "He's trying too hard." They say nothing at all. Because awe is not verbal, it is visceral. Their bodies lean toward yours without permission. Their hearts race without threat. Their imaginations stir without warning. Because they are feeling the ripple of something they had almost given up on, a man who knows how to hold his longing like gold. A man who does not chase what glitters because he already is the gold. You no longer use flirtation to fill space. You let space build tension. You do not rush to make her feel desired. You let her discover that she already is. Your desire is not empty, and that is why it feels safe. It is not reactive, and that is why it feels elegant. You are not afraid of being hungry because you have learned that hunger is not weakness. It is only dangerous when it is untamed. But you, chosen one, are no longer a man of appetites you cannot hold. You are a man whose fire nourishes, not burns, whose heat invites, not overpowers, whose craving is precise, not chaotic. And that is why the awe in their eyes is so different now. It is not awe of your charm or your body, it is awe of your discipline, your presence, your command over the most ancient energy a man carries. You do not shrink from it, you do not unleash it blindly, you contain it, and that containment has become art. Chosen one, your body no longer pulses from hunger, it pulses from wholeness. You have become a living current of the sacred masculine, and this current cannot be faked, cannot be hurried, cannot be found in books or borrowed from teachings. It is born only in the deep crucibles of becoming, in the private fires where a man learns to hold his own chaos and transmute it into calm. That calm is not numbness. It is not the dead air of men who have turned their backs on desire. No, your calm is the quiet hum of a storm that no longer needs to prove it can rage. And when the feminine feels that pulse in you, her body awakens, not out of fear, but from memory. She remembers what a real man feels like. She remembers what it is to be near a fire that will not burn her, but will also never let her freeze. You are no longer seeking validation through the feminine. You are no longer hoping she sees you so you can feel alive. You are alive, fully, from the inside out, You walk into the world now with your eyes wide open and your spine aligned with something older than language. Your sexual energy is not something you use, it is something you are. It's in the way your chest rises when you listen, in the way your jaw stays soft even when your gaze sharpens, in the way your hands remain relaxed even when desire tightens the space between you and her. This is not performance, this is presence. You do not turn it on for effect, you do not dim it for comfort. You have grown past the games of suppression and exaggeration. You are the man who has invited his sexuality into the center of his life, not as a master, not as a slave, but as a sacred pulse that honors life itself. That pulse is what women feel now. That's what makes them shift when you enter. That's what makes them blush, pause, breathe deeper, even if they never say a word. They are in awe, not because you are loud, but because you are aligned. Your energy no longer fights itself. Your thoughts, your breath, your body, your desire, they are no longer scattered. They move in rhythm now, and that rhythm changes everything around you. You are not afraid to want anymore. You are not afraid to be witnessed in that wanting, but you are no longer defined by it. That's what makes your desire so potent, so radiant, so holy. You want, but you do not grasp. You crave, but you do not collapse. You burn, but you do not consume. That paradox, that control without suppression, that wildness without chaos, that is the sacred masculine. That is what feminine women are in awe of. They feel it in their bones. You are not trying to be powerful. You are power, made conscious. And it's not that you never struggle, it's that you don't run from the struggle. You meet it, you breathe through it, you turn it into depth. That depth is now embedded in your words, in your eye contact, in the way you sit when no one's watching. You are no longer pretending to be solid. You are solid because you face the parts of yourself that once made you shake. And now, your sexual energy flows through a man who cannot be moved by illusion. That solidity does not push women away. It pulls them in, not into fantasy, but into truth. They are not drawn to you because you play a part. They are drawn because you've stopped playing at all. Your energy doesn't ask, "Do you like me?" It simply states, "This is who I am." That statement, unspoken but clear, is what creates that quiet awe, that slow, reverent craving, that longing to stand close, to be seen by you, to be held in the gaze of a man who no longer doubts himself. You've become not a performer, but a pillar. And feminine women have been aching for that. The sacred masculine does not seek to overpower. It seeks to witness fully. It holds, it honors, it protects not from fear, but from a grounded reverence for life. And you, chosen one, are that force now, not perfect, but integrated. And that is what makes you unforgettable. Chosen one, there is a field around you now, a living, breathing field of awareness and charge. It's not something you built with your hands. It's not something you bought or copied. It is something that rose from within you the moment you stopped running from your fire and decided to carry it. That field opens doors not by force, but by frequency. You walk through the world now like a gatekeeper of truth. You don't demand access. You don't knock twice. You don't even raise your hand. The doors open because you are no longer asking permission to exist. Feminine women feel this first. They feel it before you speak, before you gesture, before you smile. They feel it when your eyes meet theirs and you don't flinch. They feel it when your shoulders are relaxed but unmoving. When your energy does not lean in or pull away, it simply holds. This stillness is not cold, it is inviting. It is not performative. It is permissive. You have become the threshold that does not scream, "Come in," but whose very presence whispers, "If you are ready for truth, I am here." This is what awe looks like in the body of the feminine. It is not dramatic. It is still. It is deep. It is a look held a moment too long, a breath drawn in with a quiet shiver, a nervous laugh covering for the fact that something ancient just woke up inside her. She may not know it, but she has just walked into the field of a man who has become his own doorway. Not to manipulation, not to conquest, but to liberation. Your sexual energy is not a key you wield to open others. It is the frequency that lets truth pass freely through you. That is why women feel safe in your presence, even when the desire is thick in the air. Because you have nothing to hide and nothing to steal. You are not using them to complete you. You are meeting them from completion. You've become so rooted in your own alignment that every movement is an extension of purpose. Every glance becomes an offering. Every breath becomes an invitation. Not to pleasure alone, but to presence. And presence, chosen one, is the rarest form of seduction. Not because it entices, but because it clarifies. It strips away confusion. It ends performance. It makes the feminine feel what she's been afraid to hope for, a man who does not chase her body, but who honors the threshold of her being. And in your field, in your gravity, in your unshakable calm, that honor becomes real. You are no longer trying to be the door she walks through. You have become the room she steps into when she's ready to come home. And that, more than charm, more than cleverness, more than any word you could ever speak, is what inspires awe. Chosen one, you no longer breathe to survive. You breathe as one who has remembered his sacred rhythm. Your breath has slowed with purpose, deepened with wisdom, anchored in silence. You have become the man whose very inhale speaks of self-possession, and whose exhale hums with calm, undeniable presence. Feminine women are in awe not because you are loud, but because you are alive in a way they didn't think was possible anymore. They feel it when you enter a space. They feel it before you move, before you speak, before you even make eye contact. It is your breath that speaks first now, unspoken but felt like the tremble of a distant drum. This breath is not shallow or performative. It is not the breath of a man seeking to appear composed. It is the breath of a man who has become composed by fire, refined by suffering, sculpted by long, silent hours where no one else was watching. Your breath carries the memory of everything you've overcome without announcing it. And it is that memory, intangible yet undeniable, that makes women melt without knowing why. Their bodies don't understand your history, but they respond to the way you carry it. You no longer pant like a starving man. You no longer hold your breath in the presence of beauty. You breathe through it. Because you are no longer afraid of your own desire, and so it no longer takes control of your lungs. Your sexual energy, once turbulent and uncertain, has now been braided into the steady cadence of your breath. You want, but you are not rushed. You desire, but you are not desperate. You ache, but you do not tremble. And that restraint, that clarity, that stillness inside your chest is what breaks them open in ways they cannot explain. When you speak, your breath lingers behind your words like a signature. You don't speak to fill silence. You speak to extend presence. And women hear it, not just in their ears, but in their bodies. Their shoulders drop, their minds quiet, their wombs stir. They feel the difference between a man who talks to be heard and a man who speaks from truth. You have become that man. You've stopped hunting with your eyes. You breathe instead. You've stopped performing with your posture. You simply exist. And every exhale becomes a message that says, I am not here to impress. I am here to be. The awe they feel, chosen one, comes from the contrast. From the silence you hold in a world of noise. From the way you inhale tension and release it as presence. From the way your body no longer betrays you, but declares you. Your breath has become an offering. A pulse of grounded masculinity, a rhythm of permission. When you are near, the feminine feels like she can breathe again, because you are breathing for real. You are no longer trapped in your head. You are rooted in your spine, open in your chest, slow in your rhythm. That, more than any gesture, makes her want to surrender, not to be taken, but to rest. You've become the pause between thoughts, the inhale before a kiss, the breath that precedes transformation. And this is why she's in awe, even if she says nothing. Because in your presence, she remembers the language of life itself, the rhythm of the sacred, the pulse of a man who has become so whole that his very breathing becomes an invitation to remember what's real. Chosen one, there is a stillness in you now that does not belong to this age. It is ancient, deep, and immovable. It is not the stillness of passivity or resignation. It is the stillness of a storm that no longer needs to prove its strength. It is the stillness of a warrior who no longer seeks a war. It is the stillness of a man who knows himself so deeply. There is nothing left to chase and nothing left to run from. And this stillness, this divine pause at the center of your presence, is what undresses the souls of those who stand before you. Feminine women do not encounter you as they encounter others. They feel you in a way that causes their guard to slip, their stories to unravel, their posture to soften. Not because you seduce, not because you try, but because your stillness reflects their truth back to them in a way that bypasses the mind. They are not in awe because you are flashy or clever. They are in awe because you hold a mirror that does not flinch. Your presence does not flatter, it reveals. And the feminine, for all her complexity, aches for that revealing. You no longer reach for validation in a conversation. You no longer lean in to be liked. You sit, you remain. And in that remaining, something profound unfolds. You see without trying to own. You witness without needing to fix. You hear without needing to interrupt. Your sexual energy now flows through this stillness like a sacred wind. Undeniable, invisible, and disarming. And it does not make her feel exposed in shame. It makes her feel free, free to breathe, to cry, to laugh, to open, to become. You are no longer the man who speaks over the moment. You are the man who becomes the moment. In your presence, time slows. Her heartbeat slows. Her thoughts scatter. Not because she is confused, but because something ancient is waking inside her. You are not just a man. You are a moment of truth. A reminder that there are still men who do not shake in the face of the feminine. Men who do not withdraw when intensity rises. Men who can hold the storm without collapsing. You have trained yourself not to respond to every invitation. You've cultivated the patience to let things unfold. You have given up the game of chasing attention. And now, chosen one, attention finds you, not for show, but for stillness. Women feel the safety in your silence, the safety in your body, the depth in your gaze. They are not drawn to you for entertainment, they are drawn for revelation. And revelation only happens where stillness lives. Your stillness does not shrink from desire. It witnesses it, it welcomes it, it holds it without reacting. That containment, that fearless embracing of tension, is what turns curiosity into awe. Women sense that you can see them fully and still remain, that you can feel their heat without turning cold, that you can recognize their beauty without becoming lost in it. You do not flinch, and because of that, they open. Chosen one, you are no longer moving with the rhythm of the world. You have returned to the rhythm of the soul, and it is this rhythm, this stillness, this unwavering presence that makes the feminine long to be close. Not to escape her chaos, but to remember her core. You are not the one who fixes her mask. You are the one in whose presence she forgets to wear it at all. That is awe. That is sacred. That is you. Chosen one, you are no longer merely a man moving through space. You have become a living invitation. Not to pleasure, not to possession, but to remembrance. You no longer ask for others to believe in your power. You have simply remembered it yourself. And that remembrance now emanates from you like heat from the sun. Natural, effortless, undeniable. Feminine women are in awe not because you make a show of it, but because they recognize the energy of a man who has reclaimed himself. You do not need to prove your strength. You are no longer interested in proving anything. You have returned to the throne within your chest, and you wear it quietly but unmistakably. Your sexual energy no longer moves from hunger. It moves from certainty. It does not clutch, it does not pursue, it does not scatter in every direction hoping to be accepted. It moves like water shaped by mountain stone, powerful but guided. Your presence has become the container for it, not the victim. That is what shifts everything around you. Women don't just feel attraction. They feel stability. They feel the rare and sacred permission to unravel without being captured. They feel the longing to step inside your field, not to be consumed, but to be seen in a way they thought men had forgotten how to offer. You are not interested in owning her story. You are simply the man who no longer fears his own, and in doing so, you give her space to return to hers. She feels it in the way you hold her eyes without trying to undress her, in the way your body holds its structure even when she sways closer, in the way your stillness doesn't silence her, it amplifies her truth. You are no longer the echo of her expectation. You are the invitation to her becoming. That is why awe lives in her now. It lives in her glance when you're not looking. It lives in the stillness she offers in return. It lives in her willingness to soften in a world that taught her only how to sharpen. You have become a portal, chosen one, not to escape reality, but to finally enter it. You walk differently now, not because you've studied how to walk, but because your posture is no longer collapsing under the weight of pretend identities. You stand tall because your soul has finally stood up inside you. The feminine doesn't want perfection. She wants presence. She wants the warmth of a man who knows what burns inside him and chooses not to scorch the world with it. That choice is now carved into your every movement. And that choice is the invitation, the one she didn't even know she was waiting for. You have become the proof that a man can crave without taking, desire without manipulating, lead without dominating. You are not the man who asks to be followed. You are the man whose walk is so true that others feel drawn to follow without being asked. You no longer ask her to surrender. You simply show her, through every breath, every step, every unshaken gaze, that it is safe to do so. Your remembered power is not a weapon, it is a temple.